Hello YouTube, back again with, this time, an Argus Super 8 Model 800 movie camera. Now, I just got this a few days ago. I haven't used it yet, but right out of the box I had a minor malfunction with it, and I'm going to give you a possible option as to what it could be and what to do about it. Now, I bought this one in apparently new condition. It was still wrapped in plastic, and in the battery compartment it still had its battery installation and use paperwork stuffed in the little compartment. So the battery compartment is totally clean. I don't have a flashlight here to show you, but it's totally clean, and that's going to be probably your biggest problem with any of these battery operated movie cameras. As the batteries get left in them, they corrode and they rot the inside of the battery box. Sometimes you can fix it, sometimes you can't. Now, the Model 800, if you've never had one, is a pretty sturdy little unit. It's got a metal case. This one came with its lens cap because it had never been used. And so I got it, I looked it over, I put batteries in it, I pushed the go button, and nothing happened. So what I did from there was, before I left nasty feedback to the seller, I looked it over, and I just decided to take a chance and take out these 4 screws, see if I could find what the problem was. My hand's in the way, but you'll see them. There's 4 screws, and most of these Super 8 cameras are similar. They have an inner plate held down by usually 4 screws. So I took those out. Give me just a minute here. I'm going to carefully remove these screws because they are tiny. I've already done this once, so I'm not actually going to clean this a second time, but I will go through the motions so you can see what I did. So I got that out, got the screws out, and then I lifted this plate out, which exposes one side of the works. Now, I had batteries in it, and I noticed that when I pressed the run button, that this little link here, I hope you can see that, there's a mechanical link there. It would tweak a little bit, but it wouldn't turn anything. And what I did after that was I took out these 2 screws, one in this corner and one in that corner, that hold this side panel on. So I took the side panel off, put those screws aside, and that exposed the motor and the other side of the gear drive. So what I did was I took a Q-tip, I took some alcohol. This is 99% isopropyl alcohol. I did not have this at the time. I just ordered this off of Amazon because I couldn't find it locally, so I paid twice what it was worth plus shipping. But this will last me forever, and it's a very good cleaner. I took that, I put a little bit of it in a little plastic cup, just a very little bit because it doesn't take much, and I dipped the Q-tip, and I got in there and I started wiping off all of the mechanical stuff here. You can see this is the motor. It drives some mystery gizmo here, and the output shaft right here turns this, I guess you could call it an Acme screw, which in turn drives this gear, which in turn drives this gear, which is the one that makes your film advance, and and this, which operates your foot counter. And in here you'll see that there's a button. When you insert the cartridge, it presses that in, and what that does is it engages, I hope you can see this, it engages that foot counter and advances this to tell you how much film you've used. Anyhow, I cleaned all this stuff up because from the factory these things come with a lubricant that back in the 60s was probably a very good lubricant, but 50 years later it's more like tar. So what was happening was that antique lubricant was gumming up all of the little pinion areas, little movement areas. Now you can see that thing, that Acme screw will turn now. And I gooped it up, I wiped it off, I cleaned all of this around here, I cleaned the end of this gear, and by working it, you know, by hand a little bit, I got it so it would run, and it ran fine. The next thing that happened was this screw here that holds this plastic gear or nylon gear, there was lubricant down inside the channel where this screw passes through this nylon gear. That was stiff, and as it was turning, it not only turned the gear but it turned the screw also. So it unscrewed, popped the gear out, and then all of a sudden it would run, but the film advance wouldn't work. That's when I discovered that you take off the back panel and you have access to the rest of it. So I took this gear out, and it came out kind of at an angle like that. I pulled the screw out of it, cleaned the screw shank, and did the best I could to clean that little tiny hole that passes through the nylon gear. I cleaned that up so that the nylon gear turned on the screw shank smoothly and cleanly. I snuck it back in there, screwed it back down, and again pressed the run button and it turned great. So after I got it all cleaned up and dry, I took my compressed air, I cleaned it all up, dried it. After a few seconds of running, it started to make a funny squeal. So I took this, this is a 100% synthetic lubricant by some company named Liberty. I bought it as a watch lubricant. It's very lightweight oil. I put a dot on this point where the drive shaft passes through one metal point. I put a drop on the gearing itself right there, and I put another drop on the end where the end of the shaft is held in place by this brace, and the sound went away and it turned even more smoothly. So that is pretty much the long and the short of it. I cleaned it, I took it apart, I cleaned it, put it back together again, and I look forward very much to using this in the near future. As I said, this is Super 8, and it should be a lot of fun to use. And I hope that anyone out there who's just bought one of these or a similar camera, I think all of these 800 series are largely identical up until model 814 or thereabouts. The higher number models have electric eyes for the aperture, and should come apart in about the same manner. I've got a couple other of these that take the Super 8 cartridges, and they too have the removable plate on the inside. And I also checked, when I got this thing working, I took a flashlight, which I don't have here. I shined it straight in the fixed focus lens, pressed the run button, and I could see the light flashing in the window where it would expose the film. And I had a good flickering stream, so that tells me the shutter is working.